The massive view screen in the Galactic Council chamber flickered to life, showing a blue and green planet spinning peacefully in the void. Ambassador Krexval adjusted his forearms nervously as he prepared to address the assembled representatives of the Galactic Empire. His species, the Vorthan, had discovered this new world just 6 months ago, and what they found there had shaken him to his core. Esteemed members of the Council, Krexval began, his voice trembling slightly through the universal translator. What I am about to share with you will challenge everything we thought we knew about predator species and their place in the galactic hierarchy. The chamber fell silent. Representatives from dozens of worlds leaned forward in their seats. The Galactic Empire had classified species for millennia based on their evolutionary origins. Herbivore species like the Thackeray formed the backbone of civilization. Omnivore species like the Vorthan served as mediators and traders. And predator species, while they were kept under strict control, their aggressive instincts carefully managed through genetic modification and behavioral conditioning. The inhabitants of this world call themselves humans, and their dominant nation-state is known as the United States of America, Krexval continued. Initial scans suggested they were a standard pre-FDL civilization, perhaps a century away from discovering faster-than-light travel. We classified them as potential prey species based on their relatively fragile bodies and lack of natural weapons. A murmur ran through the chamber. The Zafrani representative, a delicate being with translucent wings, chittered nervously. Another prey species is always welcome. The Empire can always use more workers for the agricultural worlds. Krexval's mandibles clicked in what his species used as a negative gesture. That was our initial assessment. We were wrong. Catastrophically wrong. He activated a holographic display showing a human soldier in combat gear. This is a typical American military operative. No claws, no fangs, no natural armor. Their skin is soft, easily pierced. They cannot see in the dark without technological assistance. They cannot run faster than 2080 Earth miles per hour. By every metric we use, they should be prey. Then, what is the issue? Growled Commander Thorgrim of the Kandorian hegemony. His species were apex predators, standing 3 meters tall with razor-sharp claws and teeth that could bite through steel. They served as the Empire's shock troops, kept in line only through strict discipline and the promise of controlled violence. The issue, Krexval said, his voice dropping to barely a whisper, is that humans, and Americans in particular, are the most devastating predators we have ever encountered. They simply hunt differently than anything we've seen before. The chamber erupted in laughter. Several representatives made sounds of amusement in their own ways. A small, rabbit-like leopard actually fell off his chair. The idea that these soft, pink creatures could be predators was absurd. Krexval waited for the laughter to die down. Then, he played a video file. The footage showed a human persistence hunt, recorded by anthropologists studying traditional cultures. A group of humans were chasing an antelope across the African savanna. The antelope was faster, bounding away in great leaps. But the humans just kept coming, walking, jogging, never stopping. The video compressed hours into minutes, showing the antelope running, resting, running again. And always, the humans appeared on the horizon, following its tracks, never letting it rest long enough to recover. Humans, Krexval explained, evolved as persistence predators. They cannot match their prey in speed, so they simply outlast them. Their bodies are built for endurance, not burst performance. They can regulate their temperature through sweating, allowing them to maintain pursuit when other predators would overheat. They can track prey for days, following footprints and disturb vegetation that our best sensors would struggle to detect. The laughter had stopped. The Kandorian commander leaned forward, interested despite himself. But this is only the beginning, Krexval continued. Humans, you see, are not just physical predators. They are psychological predators. They understood, even in their primitive state, that the greatest weapon is not claw or fang, but fear itself. He showed another video. This one depicted ancient human warfare. When humans first developed agriculture, they could have become peaceful. Most prey species do, once they no longer need to flee predators. Instead, humans turned their predatory instincts on each other. They developed weapons, tactics, strategies. They learned to fight in groups, to use terrain, to exploit weakness. And the Americans perfected it. The hologram shifted to show modern American military doctrine. They call it shock and awe. They strike so fast, so hard, and from so many directions that their enemies are paralyzed by fear before the battle even begins. They use psychological warfare as readily as physical weapons. They broadcast messages to enemy forces, telling them exactly when and where they will attack, because they know the fear of anticipation is often worse than the attack itself. A Thackeray representative, her large eyes wide with fear, spoke up. "Surely you exaggerate. No prey species could." "They are not prey," Crexval interrupted. "We made first contact 3 months ago. A small diplomatic team landed in what they call Washington, D.C. We announced ourselves as representatives of the Galactic Empire, come to welcome Earth into the greater community of worlds. We explained our classification system. We told them they would be classified as a prey species, given their physical characteristics." He paused, remembering that meeting. The Americans laughed, not the nervous laughter of the fearful, but the genuine amusement of a predator who has just heard something absurd. Their president, a woman named Sarah Chun, looked at our diplomatic team and said something I will never forget. "I think you've misunderstood something fundamental about humans, and Americans in particular. We're not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with us." The chamber was utterly silent now. She then proceeded to give us a history lesson. Crexval continued. "Americans," she explained, "descended from humans who crossed oceans to reach an unknown land. They fought its original inhabitants and won. They tamed a wilderness that killed the unprepared. They fought the greatest empire of their time for independence and won. They fought each other in a civil war so brutal it killed more Americans than all their other wars combined. They fought in 2 global wars, and when pushed to the brink, they developed and used weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds." He showed an image of a nuclear explosion. Several representatives physically recoiled. "But here's what truly makes them apex predators," Crexval said. "After developing these weapons that could end all life on their world, they chose restraint. They created treaties, international laws, organizations dedicated to preventing their use. Not because they were afraid of the weapons, but because they understood that true apex predators must sometimes choose not to kill. They learned to dominate through the threat of violence rather than violence itself. Surely they must have some weakness," the Zafrani representative said desperately. "Oh, they do," Crexval admitted. "They're fragile. A single plasma bolt would kill them. They need constant food and water. They're susceptible to disease and radiation. But here's the terrifying part. They know all of this and they don't care. When Americans go to war, they accept that they will take casualties. They plan for it. They have a saying, 'The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants.'" He showed footage of American military training. Soldiers crawling through mud under live fire. Marines practicing hand-to-hand combat. Air Force pilots pushing their bodies to the point of unconsciousness in G-force training. Navy SEALs deliberately drowning themselves as part of their qualification. "They train by hurting themselves," Crexval said. "They seek out suffering to become stronger." When we analyzed their military doctrine, we found something that chilled us to our cores. They have a concept called mutually assured destruction. It means that if faced with an existential threat, they will ensure their enemy dies with them. They would rather end all life than submit. Commander Thorgrim stood, his massive frame casting shadows across the chamber. "You speak of them as if they are invincible. No species is invincible. The Kandorian hegemony has never met a foe we could not defeat." "Commander," Crexval said carefully, "I mean no disrespect to your people's prowess. But consider this, Your species evolved as apex predators embody. You hunt, you kill, you feed. It is your nature. Humans evolved as apex predators in mind. They hunt not just to feed, but for sport, for resources, for ideology, for revenge, sometimes simply to prove they can. And Americans have turned this into a science. He pulled up military statistics. The American military budget exceeds the combined military spending of the next 10 Earth nations. They have military bases on every continent of their world. They have weapons in space, despite their own treaties against it. They have contingency plans for everything from alien invasion to zombie apocalypse. Yes, they actually plan for impossible scenarios just to keep their strategic minds sharp. But they're just one nation on a divided world, another representative pointed out. True, Crexval agreed. But when threatened from outside, humans have a remarkable ability to unite. And the Americans, they have a saying, you can mess with one of us, but you can't mess with all of us. Their entire national mythology is built on the idea of coming together against external threats. They celebrate holidays commemorating their victories. They teach their children games that simulate warfare. Their most popular entertainment involves violence, not just observing it, but interactive simulations where they pretend to be soldiers, assassins, and warriors. He showed footage of American children playing video games, their faces intense with concentration as they commanded virtual armies and fought digital battles. They train their young in warfare tactics through play. By the time an American reaches adulthood, they have likely killed millions in simulation. They know tactics, strategy, weapon handling, all learned for fun. The weight of Crexval's words settled over the chamber like a suffocating blanket. These were not the revelations of a prey species. These were the characteristics of something far more dangerous. There's more, Crexval said, and several representatives visibly braced themselves. Humans pack bond, not just with their own species, but with anything. They form emotional attachments to animals, to machines, even to inanimate objects. And when something they pack bonded with is threatened or harmed, he shuddered. The American military has a saying, no one gets left behind. They will risk 100 lives to save one, not because it makes tactical sense, but because their pack bonding demands it. And when one of their pack is killed, he showed historical footage of American military responses to attacks on their citizens. Pearl Harbor, 9/11, embassy bombings. Each time, the response was swift, overwhelming, and lasted for years or even decades. They don't just seek victory, Crexval explained. They seek to make an example, to ensure that no one ever thinks of harming their pack again. They have a term for it, disproportionate response. If you kill one American, they will kill 100 of yours. Not because they need to, but because they want everyone watching to understand the price of American blood. The lepery representative, who had been silent since his earlier tumble, spoke up in a squeaking voice. But, surely they must have some code of honor? Some limitation? They do, Crexval said. They have extensive laws of war. Rules about treating prisoners, protecting civilians, proportional force. But here's the terrifying part. They only follow these rules when fighting those they consider honorable enemies. Those who break the rules, who target civilians, who use certain weapons, the Americans have a term for them, unlawful combatants. And the protections of law do not apply to them. He showed declassified footage from American special operations. Dark figures moving through the night with technological augmentation that put most species' natural abilities to shame. Thermal vision, sound amplification, satellite communication, weapons that could kill from distances that defied belief. And this is just their military capability, Crexval continued. Their civilian population is arguably more dangerous. There are more privately owned firearms in America than there are Americans. Their Constitution explicitly protects the right to bear arms. They have civilians who shoot for sport, who can hit targets at ranges that would challenge military snipers of other species. They have a cultural obsession with self-reliance and personal defense. Break into an American home, and you're as likely to face an armed civilian as you are in a military installation. The hologram shifted to show American culture. Movies glorifying violence. Sports that celebrated controlled aggression. A legal system that allowed for deadly force and self-defense. Children's stories where the hero defeats the monster through cleverness and violence. They're a paradox, Crexval said. Individually, Americans are often kind, generous, helpful. They give more to charity than any other nation on their world. They rush to help in disasters, even in countries that oppose them. But threaten them, attack them, try to dominate them, and they become something else entirely. They become the apex predator that evolution shaped them to be. What do you recommend? The council chairman asked, speaking for the first time. His voice was steady, but Crexval could hear the underlying concern. Do not classify them as prey. Crexval said immediately. Do not attempt to conquer them. Do not threaten them. And, absolutely, under no circumstances, do not harm their civilians. If we approach them as equals, as potential partners, they will likely welcome us. They are curious, eager to explore, to learn. But if we approach them as conquerors, you let the sentence hang in the air, unfinished but understood. You truly believe they could threaten the Empire? Commander Thorgrim asked. A single world against thousands? Crexval's four arms gestured in a complex pattern of resignation. Commander, I asked their military attaché that very question. Colonel Marcus Thompson, a man who looked like he could break in a stiff breeze compared to your warriors. Do you know what he said? The chamber waited. He smiled, Crexval said. He smiled and said, the last folks who thought they could take on America had a real bad time. We got a lot better at killing since then. And now you've gone and given us a reason to unite the whole planet and point our guns at the stars. I'd say that was a tactical error on your part. And then Crexval continued, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. He told me about something called the Grey Goo Protocol. Apparently, humans have been thinking about alien contact for generations. They have plans, contingencies, weapons designed not to fight aliens, but to ensure that if humanity falls, the threat that killed them doesn't survive to threaten others. They call it salting the earth. If they can't have their world, no one can. That's insane, someone whispered. No, that's human. That's American. They would rather die on their feet than live on their knees. They have another saying, give me liberty or give me death. And they mean it, every word. The chamber fell silent again as each representative grappled with this new information. The neat categories they had used for millennia, predator, prey, herbivore, omnivore, suddenly seemed woefully inadequate. There's one more thing, Crexval said, and the chamber somehow became even more still. When I was leaving, President Chun gave me a gift. A book. The Art of War by someone called Sun Tzu. She said it was required reading in American military academies. I've had it translated. Do you know what it says? No one answered. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting, Crexval quoted. This book is over 2,000 of their years old. They've been thinking about warfare as an art form for longer than some of our civilizations have existed. And the Americans have had centuries to perfect it. He closed the holographic display. Honored representatives, I submit to you that humans and Americans